In 2020, Biden won Arizona by less than 12,000 votes. Cate Martel, national political reporter with our partners at thehill.com, joins us. She's also the author of The Hill's 1220 report. It's so fascinating to watch the political patterns as people move to different places. It makes me wonder 4 years from now if we have fewer swing states.
It's a really fascinating report, Marni, as you're delving into all of the details, that we are starting to see that people are moving based on political trends. Now, you look at just a few years ago, remember that Florida was a critical swing state, and now that's fairly reliably Republican. And like you're saying, in the next 4 years, it'll be fascinating to see how those trends will continue. Specifically with Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, I'm going to be fascinated to see, are those going to be more redder states in the future? Because based on that data, those are states that tend to be more favorable for Republicans to be moving. And on the flip side, also I'm looking at Nevada and Wisconsin as potentially more bluer states in the future. Michigan and Pennsylvania, when we're talking about these key battleground states, are a little bit more of an open question, but fascinating to see how this could play out over the next few years, because we are starting to see these trends that people are wanting to find a more culturally friendly, politically friendly place for them to move when they're making these decisions for their families.
And looking at some of the information on the screen right now, places where people are more likely to move, starting with Democrats, why they moved, some of the characteristics: 5 miles within a college, above average walkability. I like this one, within 5 miles of a Trader Joe's. What stands out to you about the reasons they're picking up and packing and moving?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily that people are opening up the voting records of a particular area when they're deciding where to move. But this data that you're showing is that people are trying to find culturally familiar places, that people, we've seen politics has become so intensely personal over the past few years, and partisanship really has seemed to rev up, that when you look at some of these cultural factors, people are looking to be in areas where they are the most comfortable. Obviously, I'm, partial to the Trader Joe's line. I'm a big fan of Trader Joe's myself. But when you start looking that people that are moving in Republican areas are based on tax rates, that's something that is very much a platform within the Republican Party. That's, I think, a cultural difference, that people are looking for different priorities when they're figuring out where to move their families. And, as we're seeing this partisan divide get even more bitter over the past few years, that I think that people are trying to find places where they're going to feel they fit in the most. And some of these factors may not just be how people are voting at the ballot box. But when you step back from this, Democrats may be looking for more racial diversity, and we may see Republicans looking for, other factors that may involve taxes, a pretty common platform within the Republican Party.
Yeah, so Republicans looking for lower tax rates, living within 5 miles of a forest, rural or small town. When you look at what Republicans are interested in, average temperature above 70 degrees, which could explain the Florida thing. Politically speaking, when it comes to strategy, the campaigns love this kind of data, right, to be able to plan for the next cycle. What do you think we'll start to see as these numbers come in on Tuesday, as they prepare for the next cycle, and where people are at, and how this might play a role?
Yeah, I think this could very much play a role. It's hard to know how these moving numbers will directly impact Election Day, but as we've continued to talk about, this race is so incredibly close that a small shift like this could potentially be decisive on Election Day. So I'm fascinated to watch over the next few days where Harris and Trump both prioritize. And even within those states, those specific regions, I think could tell us a lot about what this internal polling and internal data that the campaigns are hearing, and how that's potentially going to play out. And on Election Day, I'm going to be looking specifically at Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina to see what are the polling trends there. And on the reverse, also looking what Nevada and Wisconsin, are those numbers going to potentially come in more blue for Vice President Harris? Or how much does this actually play a factor? Because there are other factors when we look at different voting data. There's also people turning 18, people dying, people not showing up on election day at the polls. So there's other factors, but I think that this could very much play a role, Marni. And I totally agree. This is the type of data that these campaigns absolutely love to look into and potentially base the last 4 days of the campaign for the campaign stop.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.